trampoline and acres of crotch cycles.
I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, we're going to review a new album from one of Tom and myself, one of our mutual favorite bands, Elbow.
Woo!
Tom, you showed me Elbow.
Yes.
I think we were playing StarCraft, and you're like, hey, we're going to put on Asleep in the Back.
It's good StarCraft music.
And really, if you like Elbow and you like StarCraft, then that's just a match made in heaven.
It really is.
So
It really
yeah,
is.
I instantly fell in love with Elbow. Elbow is a band that is hugely influenced by Radiohead. They're a British band. But Tom, you kind of a music historian here in the Velocities in Music studio room.
Yeah.
Would you tell us a little bit about Elbow?
Well, they started around the early 2000s, at least when they, released Asleep in the Back, their debut album, which is a great album. It's a lot moodier than some of the stuff that they would do in the future. Takeoff and Landing of Everything, the album we're reviewing today, is their 6th album, and they really have established a very niche, unique sound for themselves over the course of their career. I would put them as one of the best bands of the 2000s, just because, every album they put out is great. Yeah. It's like all of their albums are better than all of their other albums. Yeah. See if you can make sense of that.
And that's a good point. Unlike bands like Spoon, who are noted as being like some of the best, like one of the best bands of the past 15 years because every album they put out is good. Spoon just makes the same album over and over again, where Elbow actually takes their music to new places. Like you actually see them improving their craft, trying new things. And while it's not like a OK Computer to Kid A sort of switch, it's still a big change. Or there's enough small changes that it feels like a bigger change.
There's definitely a steady progression.
Yes,
you can tell if you listen to their albums in chronological order, you can tell the progression of sound from album to album, and then all of a sudden, you look back at Asleep in the Back and you listen to the Takeoff and Landing of Everything, and you're like, whoa, the places this band has gone. Right. But their sound is I think, kind of hard to describe. They're definitely art rock, I would categorize them as. British alternative. Art, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a little bit artsier than Radiohead.
Yeah, but and not quite as rockin' as Radiohead
or
can
gloomy.
Sometimes get.
Or gloomy.
That's true.
They can be quite optimistic.
Yeah, I would more closely compare them maybe to like Doves.
Yeah,
as far as their experimental nature. But this is just a band I can't get enough of. And we reviewed Build a Rocket Boys when it came out in 2011. We gave it a 100. That's still one of my favorite, most perfect albums. I love it. Seldom Seen Kid is another mutual favorite.
I don't think we gave it 100 at the time. That might have been my fault. That might have been my fault. But going back, I have not put that. Now too. Yeah, I have not put that album down since we reviewed it. I'm still listening to it. It's one of my top 5 favorite albums of all time. Elbow, they're great songwriters when it comes down to it. They have a lot of really good ideas. They are great at composing songs and crafting albums. A full listening experience from beginning to end. Guy Garvey, the lead singer and kind of frontman, who kind of reminds me of Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, he does me too. Ricky Gervais with a Peter Gabriel voice.
Right. Well, and Peter Gabriel and Genesis, one of Elbow's biggest influences. But just seeing what they did on Build a Rocket Boys. You had these huge... That album, more than any other Elbow record, showed Elbow really experimenting with their craft. You had a lot longer songs that kind of sprawled. They would really high highs and low lows. They focused on a lot of dynamic contrast. They were really stretching their songwriting muscles. Now, on the Takeoff and Landing of Everything, there's a noticeable change. First of all, Guy Garvey kind of broke up with his girlfriend in making of this record, so there's definitely this is a more morose record. There's definitely a lot of lyrics that have to do with the breakup, which I think he added later, but at the same time, like This Blue World, a lot of Flyboy Blue, Lunette. Like there's some themes in here lyrically that you could associate with sadness or breakup. There's also, he was in love with New York. He was spending some time in New York City, and there's a lot of those lyrical themes come out on this record as well.
Yeah, it really just as you said, it really experiments a lot more. And given that in that context of that, it was kind of a breakup album. I feel like breakup albums always have a very particular kind of feel to them. Even if the whole album's not about that, it still still going to influence the way that the songwriter composes these pieces. So it's not just about the mood and how it's a little less energetic and a little more cathartic than some of Elbow's past releases, but it also, I feel like, kind of shows through in just the way that the songs develop. This album, more than any other Elbow album, what they're really doing is taking these songs everywhere. Yeah. And I don't just mean from song to song, I mean within the same song. Yeah. A lot of their past work...
They really finish where they start.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like... I don't know, it kind of comes full circle like that, like you said. But these tracks are long. This album is long. It's 10 tracks, and it's about an hour. So we're averaging at about 6 minutes a track. But it doesn't feel long. No. Because every single song goes so many different places. They develop. You've got Flyboy Blue, Lynette, which was kind of the lead single at like 6.5 minutes. But it's just a very... cut in the middle kind of song. It's basically 2 songs just jammed together, but it works. And that flow, and it happens within songs, it happens between songs to make a very fluid album listen that you don't really notice the length of.
Right. And Elbow, being an alternative British rock band, they've always had, you know, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, drums, bass, you know, the general format of a band. But on this album, you're seeing they're using a lot more electronic textures in this record. And not so that it ever takes over, that it ever say that they're flirting with electronica and everything. There's a couple tracks on here like Charge, track 2. That song, I think, is, I mean, it just gets in me. It's a great... It's a great song just in general, but track 8, Color Fields, neither one of the 3 songs we didn't select as a track pick.
No kidding.
You know, that's probably the poppiest song on the record. There's a drum machine there, a little electronic melody. Elbow's used subtle electronic melodies in the past. They're using them a bit more here to give the album kind of another shade of color, I would say, in the sound palette and the soundscapes that they're creating. But what it comes down to is just... fantastic songwriting. I mean, this album opens up This Blue World, which is a song, there's a couple songs on here, Real Life, Angel, and This Blue World, that really focus on steady beats. Something that they did on Build a Rocket Boys a lot. This steady pounding beat that drives the song along. But then what's different about what they're doing on Takeoff and Landing of Everything is that the song kind of grows and develops, and at the end it kind of shifts, and you get a lot of really cool music. It's a great opener. It's a little bit of a longer track. Then you have Charge, and then Flyboy Blue, Lunette, which is this like amalgamation of 2 songs kind of crammed together. But man, that song just grips me.
Great,
the lyrics are great. Guy Garvey's vocals are fantastic. It's just all around one of my favorite tracks.
And the title track, Takeoff and Landing of Everything, is another good example of a track with kind of a steady beat, but it just builds. It's one of those building, expansive tracks.
I think that's one of the most impressive songs on this album, I think, from an instrumental standpoint.
I agree, and especially its placement in the album, the second to last track, and then you have the kind of more slowed down Blanket of Night, kind of a softer track. I think it works really well. So this album, Jake mentioned, there were only 3 tracks that between the 2 of us we didn't pick as track picks, and that's to me the mark of a good, well-rounded, diverse album. I think that you'll find, I think the average listener will find that this is probably one of Elbow's more difficult records to get into.
Yeah, it definitely took us a lot longer.
It did. At first we were kind of like, meh, but it's one of those albums that if you listen to it enough and get to know those songs, a lot of the songs that seem weaker at first will really sneak up on you. And to me, that is the hallmark of just good songwriting, good attention to detail and craft. And I think that Elbow really has done it again with this one. I don't think they've ever put out anything bad. While I might not recommend this as a good starting point for the band, it's still, if you're familiar with their work, with their sound, and the kind of atmosphere that they provide in their music, I don't think you'll be disappointed by this one.
I totally agree. I mean, to me, tracks like Real Life Angel, My Sad Captains, The Takeoff and Landing of Everything, like those are the tracks that I really didn't care for too much at first, and then somewhere along, you know, the 5 to 7 listen in that range is when I like just fell in love with those tracks too, and that made the album seem a lot more balanced for me. It really increased my desire or my love of the straight through listen, and it was like, oh yeah, Elbow did it again. They crafted a good record. So I think this is a really strong Elbow record. I agree with you though. If I were recommending a starter record, if you're wanting to get into Elbow's discography, Seldom Seen Kid.
Seldom Seen Kid.
Seldom Seen Kid. That's where you start with. I'm gonna go 84 on this one.
I'm going 82.
Okay, 83 for Velocities of Music. 83. Well, in school that's like a B. For us, that's an A. That's an awesome album. You should go out and listen to it, get into Elbow, and let us know your thoughts on the Takeoff and Landing of Everything at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let Tom or me know what albums you'd like us to review on this channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
With their empty cups to the night, and it starts to be here and now.